To those who are joining for the first time, like not for the community call front of me, like because it is my second meeting with you all. So you can, Keith, you can give the introduction, just a brief introductions, and Shravani and the Vimal, and if you can go ahead.
Sure, sounds good. Thanks for having us. Myself, Shravani, and Vimal, we all work for the Biological and Chemical Oceanography Data Management Office. That's a lot to say. Our acronym is just pronounced BICODEMO. I'll type it in the chat here. We sit at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and we've been interested in using frictionless data, the specifications, and some of the Python packages, gosh, since like 2014, 2015, when we were introduced to it. So we're heavy into its applications and implementation, and have run a couple projects with the group on the side. So really invested and curious as to the development and progress of the app. So sorry, let me just introduce myself. I'm the technical director at that project, where we run a data repository for ocean data funded by the National Science Foundation. And thanks for having us.
Shravani, you can introduce yourself. Shravani, if you're there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly fine.
Hi, I'm Shravani. Thanks for the introduction, Adam. Yeah, I work with Adam's team. I'm a software engineer. I'm helping with setting up BICODEMO's infrastructure on cloud. And yeah, I'm with Hui as well. Looking forward to see what plans are for the frictionless community. Thank you.
Thank you. Vimal. Okay, so Vimal is not connected. So Keith, you can introduce yourself.
Hello. So became aware of frictionless through involvement with bioinformatics and kind of interest in its application for reproducible research, bioinformatics pipelines that I've worked on. In the past, I was at NI 2017 to last year, and then transitioned and joined a friend who started a company using AI and medical, like different, but here just to stay involved and see if I can still interested in the long-term applications in reproducible research and data openness in general. So good to see everyone and meet new faces.
Okay, thank you. Peter, you can just give a brief introduction to others because we know you.
Hi, I'm Peter Desmet. I work at INBO in Belgium. Our team is providing software and helping researchers to publish data sets. And on the plans for this year related to frictionless data packages are we work a lot in biodiversity informatics and the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, which is a huge database of observations. And they are going to adopt data package for publishing data to that platform and deriving data from that platform. So I'm involved in a working group there. I'm also the maintainer of ChemTrapDB, which is a standard to exchange camera trap data that is built on data package. And this year we're planning to expand that to accommodate bioacoustic data. And finally, I'm the co-maintainer of the Frictionless R package. And our plan for this year is to extend its functionality so it can read and write data package version 2. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Kathleen, if I'm pronouncing you right, so you can give introductions.
Sure. Hi, I'm Caitlin Augustine. I'm from the nonprofit DataKind. We're a global nonprofit organization focused on building digital public goods for social impact. And I've been aware of this community for a while, but haven't joined a meeting in a couple of years. So saw the agenda today and was really eager to learn more about the climate related efforts as DataKind is building tooling in partnership with local governments in Kenya, bringing together climate and health data and looking to make that impactful. So kind of eager to just listen and learn and figure out if there's a place for our technical team to engage more deeply. So
Okay, thank you. So you can see we have the agenda on the year of roundup and the plans for the also the related to the frictionless. So I think we are waiting for the Renata to join because she can comment on this funding opportunity and others. So in the meantime, when she joins, so I think Peter, you can, because others are waiting for the frictionless data progress and on the R packages you are working and others, you can just make them understand. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so we're trying to finalize a contract between IMBO and the Open Knowledge Foundation to work on the Frictionless R package and the Frictionless Python package that is done through Multicoup and Pierre, but to update the software so it can read data package version 2 and also write data package version 2, because currently the software can only do data package version 1. You'll get errors if you try to read a data set that is created in data package version 2, which is of course a big blocker for the adoption of this of the standard. And a similar contract is happening with Pierre from Multicoup to update the Frictionless Pi library to also support data package version 2. This is a bit of a follow-up of a grant proposal that we submitted last year to the Oscars European call, but despite a very, very high score, it was not retained for funding. So these two contracts are a base version of trying to at least get the libraries to a point where they're no longer a blocker for the adoption of data package version 2. I still have to define the scope a little bit with Renata, but we're not going to implement all features that are there in data package version 2. I just mainly want to resolve the blockers in reading and writing. And the approach that we're going to take in conversion of data package version 1 to data package version 2 is something I still have to figure out. Because it's, we want to make sure that the current workflows that users have is not affected if they're happy with data package version 1, that it's not up converted to data package version 2 without them wanting this, especially since the software for data package version 2 is not fully there yet. So yeah, that is something that we'll think about. If you are curious to or interested to contribute to those discussions, I'll add the link to the GitHub repository in the chat here, and you can watch issues that are happening there. I mean, we really would welcome any R user that is interested in using data package in the R environment to provide feedback.
Thank you. So basically, the Vimal has asked questions if he's new to the frictionless community and interested in how these standards help make shared data easier to understand and reuse, especially across the different teams in the domain. So,
sorry, can you repeat? I have a bit of trouble understanding.
Yeah, basically, in the they wanted to understand and the community and the frictionless community and interested in how these standards help make shared data easier to understand and reuse, especially across the different teams and the domains, so how they can use these frictionless standards in their work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a big topic, but the whole idea in the, I mean, I work in the research community. I mean, of course, data package can also be used for governmental data or data from other organizations that needs to be shared openly. But in the research community, there's now this concept of FAIR, to make data findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. But in practice, this is mainly about the metadata about your data set. So that metadata of one data set can easily be exchanged or be submitted to the same platform, such as Zenodo or Figshare, as metadata from another data set, or that Figshare and Zenodo can talk to each other. So you know who are the contributors, what is the description, what is the license. So to make sure that that aspect is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. For the data itself, you could either just upload a file, an Excel file, and then it is not very open or readable or future-proof. So if you say, I'm going to upload, if you have tabular data, a CSV file, your CSV file might look very different from my CSV file, and people typically have to invent a format for their data. And this is, I think, where data package really shines, is to describe data sets in a way that is human and machine readable, and also that allows communities to think about how do we want to structure our data and how do we want to write down how it is structured. And in the most simple form, you could have a document where you say, these are the column headers and these are the expectations that I have. But that is then, again, not very machine readable, or your specification of how you define your columns is different from another community specifications. But with Frictionless Data Package, especially the table schemas, you can say, these are the fields that I have, these are the names, this is the description, these are the constraints. And it offers a very generic way to describe that, meaning that you as a community can focus on the things that are important, as in what fields do I want in my data. You don't have to think about how do I write the name of the field, what property do I use? In table schema, it is called name. How do you write the restrictions on values, minimum, maximum? This is all defined in table schema, and you can build it on top of that rather than doing all that groundwork yourself. So I think it's a twofold benefit. One, you can benefit from all that work already being done, so you don't need to spend time on that. And the end result is that your specifications will look the same as specifications by another community. And to give an example, in the biodiversity informatics world where I work, for the longest time, there was a Darwin Core Standard, which is a list of terms or column headers, basically, that is shared within a community. And
So
we
can you
are
just, I wanted to also know more about this Darwin standard.
the Darwin Core Standard.
Yes, yes. And how you're applying to the camera trap data, and because it was quite interesting. So.
Okay, I'll just try to link first. Okay, here. So the Darwin Core Standard is a standard that is, I think, over 15 years old and is community maintained by volunteers. And it is a list of, you could say, column headers for biodiversity data, for example, scientific name or event date or location ID. And each term has a definition. But then it's up to you how you package your data. I mean, you could have this as names in a database, you could have this as column names in a CSV file. But once we get into a bit more complicated stuff where we want to share more than one CSV file that is related, for example, one CSV file with the locations and another CSV file with the observations you made at that location, then you're getting into modeling data, and you'll have to do a lot of groundwork in how you describe all of that. That was done in a thing called a Darwin Core Archive, which was a bit of a custom-built solution to do all of that. Now the community is moving to Darwin Core data packages as the groundwork to express how the files should be organized, what the column headers are, and there's currently a huge public review underway to allow the community to provide feedback on that. And the result will be that a Darwin Core data package will be a community-specific version of a generic data package, with the big advantage that all software that is developed for data packages can be used for Darwin Core data packages. And we only have to focus on the software side, as with the standard development side, on the things that are unique to our community, while all the generic stuff can be done with frictionless software. And I hope also that this endeavor with biodiversity informatics adopting data packages, that there's a flow back of interest in software development and standard development to the generic data package standards. Because yeah, we're thinly spread as a community, but like the more interest there is and the more users there are of data package, the more contributions we're going to get. And finally, I think it's also, that is why it's important that data package remains generic, as in we shouldn't go too far in defining very niche things, because this is where the communities shine. I don't think we should have links to units or have things that are, I mean, there's a lot of ideas floating around in data package, but I think it's very important to make a difference between what is generic enough that can cater to all communities or many, and what is very specific that is best solved within a certain community. For example, coming up with definitions of terms in biodiversity informatics, it's definitely community-specific things. Coming up with how to express minimum and maximum values for a field, this is very generic that a lot of communities could use, and that is the role of the data package working group.
Is applicable, like it is not the numerical data and all the things. It can apply to the terms and names also, this whole standard.
You mean defining types of fields or?
Yeah, like the data packages of how it is different, like it is both the frictionless standards and the Darwin Cone standards. So these are like, I just need to know it is related or it's a different kind of approach they are using.
No, it's not a different approach. So you have to see it. Let's say I want to define the field's decimal latitudes, which is a Darwin core term, which ranges from +90 to -90. The way we would express that as a Darwin core or a table schema, that is a data package thing, is we give the name of the field, decimal latitude, and then we use the data package standards and properties to say it has a constraint that the minimum value is 90 and the maximum value is, it's between -90 and +90. But we use all the properties in data package to express that. So we are not expressing those things in a different way. We use data package as the starting layer, the ground layer, to then expand upon that and only define the more specific things. I will try to find a link to a repository where that is clear. So the other standard that I'm maintaining is CampraDP on for camera trap data. I'll try to link to latitudes and the definition there.
Basically, the person who is a beginner, so how he or she can start to adopt the standards and how they can like start from, because
I think there's two approaches. One is if you are not working within a community, you're just a researcher who wants to publish a data set.
Yes, that is what
let's say I have a CSV file and I have 10 column headers and I want to define them. And I want to publish this data set on Zenodo. The very first step to me would be to have column headers that are understandable for an end user, like readable names that somebody can understand. The next step would maybe to indicate in your metadata, these are my 10 column headers, and these are the definitions for those. Also, for example, explaining what units are. But that is then still not machine readable. It is usable for a human stumbling upon your data set. And then the next thing would be, in addition to your CSV file, you add a data package JSON file. In that one, you say, I have a single CSV file, and these are the 10 fields in my CSV file. And you have now described your data set in a way that is readable for a human, but also readable for a machine, and that all frictionless software can be used to read that data set. Users might also ignore that and just take the CSV file and not look at the data package as something in addition to your data that you have. But it comes with benefits, as in frictionless software can read it and can also validate your data. For example, are all the data types that you say in your data package JSON actually what I find in the data? If you define something as a numeric field and there's a text value in there, the data package tooling will give you an error, which is useful for you as a creator of data. So you can validate what you just produced, is it okay? But also as a user of a data set, I do this all the time. Every time I get a data set that is a data package, to validate, are there things in here that make sense or do not make sense? So that is by adding this data package JSON. And then one step further is, rather than a lonely researcher, is as a community defining how this data package JSON or these files should look like. And then you're entering community standards like we have with Darwin Core and ChemtraDB. I'll try to share a data set on Zenodo that has a non-community version, but it's just describing the data itself as with a data package JSON file. 1 second.
Meantime, others can ask the questions in the chat, or they can discuss. Right.
Okay, I have a question here from Vimal.
Yes.
At a high level, how does data package version 2 differ from version 1? And what problems is it trying to solve? I can link to the changelog for the details, but I think it tried to solve two things. Version 1 was not really defined as a version 1. It was, this is data package. No chances of changing it whatsoever. This is what it is. Use it. And if you have suggestions, there is no mechanism to incorporate this into the standards and have newer version of the standards. And this worked for over 8 years, I think. I think it officially launched in 2017 and we revamped in 24. But with version 2, we now have a mechanism to make changes to the standard and also clearly indicate this is standard version 2, 2.1, 2.2, etc. And I think as part of version 1 to version 2, there are some critical things we wanted to fix, which is try to get rid of things that were a bit dubious, as in not super well defined. And another thing was there was a feature that people really wanted, as in the fields that you define in your CSV file and the fields that you define in your data package, to have a little bit of difference between the two, as in I only want to define a subset, but people can add their own things. So that there's a match between what you define in your data package JSON and in your CSV file. That has been a long-standing request, as well as a number of other requests that we try to tackle as many as possible from version 1 to version 2. I'll look at the changelog for data package to see. But in the whole definition of version 2, we try to explain as much as possible what software should do in converting version 1 to version 2, so it is still compatible. It just offers a lot of, or not a lot, I mean, some new capabilities while retaining the possibility to read version 1 datasets, which are out there everywhere, so we need to maintain those as well. Yes, and I would say the biggest bottleneck for version 2 currently is that's the two, I think there's 3 main software languages that are used for data package with a lot of adoption, which is Python, R, and JavaScript. The JavaScript one that is maintained by Evgeny is now, I think, is supporting version 2, but the Python and the R package are not, which is why we have this contracts with the Open Knowledge Foundation to at least not be a blocker in reading or writing a version 2, not having all the features and all the categories in there. But yeah, that is no longer a blocker.
Okay, thank you. So others, if have any questions, they can ask in the chat or they can switch on their videos and maybe they can answer. So I have a question, like Keith, if you're there, you can just, are you there, Keith? Or Kathleen?
Yes.
Kathleen,
Sorry.
yeah.
I had to figure out how to turn things back on.
Yes, thank you. So basically, I need to like how you are going to adapt to this frictionless data if you are going to choose it.
Right now, I don't have any immediate plans, so I used it for some research projects to like did some meta-analyses in bioinformatics, and it was really good there as a way to like kind of normalize how the metadata was structured and presented. But right now, I don't have any immediate plans, so I'm more just kind of staying part or staying, trying to stay abreast and see how I can help support. In long term, I agree with the vision. I think Peter did a much better job than I could ever do explaining like the strengths and kind of focus of data package. But the way I see it is, yeah, it's basically a really good general standard for describing data in a clear and open way that has a solid kind of general foundation, but also allows for extensibility. And so I still haven't seen a better alternative. And when it comes to like, yeah, making data more transparent and open and creating high quality data sets in the public, it's a good bet. So I think we just need to keep pushing and building the community, and love to see a world where more of the data, bio and otherwise, are in this kind of structure or something like it. Like it might not be the end. At the end, something better might come along, but for now, this is pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Shravani, if you can comment or have opinion about that, something you can comment on that. Shravani, if you're there.
I'm just learning in. I think I'm good. Just one question. I've been recently learning about chunk manifest files. So I was wondering if having a frictionless JSON and data package format to represent kind of a chunk manifest model is a valid use case to think about, or do you see it working? We have data on cloud, and sometimes we maintain file inventories and other kind of stuff. So I was just kind of seeing if it's worth thinking about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just add to that. And
Yeah, Peter,
sorry.
you can. Peter, you can go ahead. Yeah.
No, Keith, go ahead. I was going to add something else.
Okay. All I was going to say is I think, yeah, there is also room for us to improve with respect to other non-tabular data formats. Like data package in itself is very generic, and it's kind of a container, and you can put anything you want into it and describe it. But we fleshed out much more thoroughly how that works for table data, tabular data. In bio, we would often encounter things like matrix data, which can look like tabular data, but actually is a bit different. And there's obviously many other kinds of formats. All of these could potentially be addressed and incorporated, but there's more work to do, I think, on those fronts.
Okay. Vimal, any questions you can ask?
Yeah.
Are you
Hi,
okay?
everyone. Sorry about my mic earlier and also camera.
Yeah, if you can
But
switch on your video, it's okay. Nice if you can.
sorry, I
Send
don't
it
have
us.
a working camera. I
Okay,
apologize.
fine. You can go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick one. So, are there any early V2 adoption stories or examples that help validate the new changes coming in the version 2? Is that the Darwin core community plan? Is that relevant to this? I'm just trying to understand if there's a story where, V2 adoption help validate the the new changes that you're coming up for the version 2 compared to V1?
No, so Darwin Core is completely unrelated to this. Darwin Core is an example of a community building on top of data packets as a generic standard.
I see.
The changelog that I added in the chat is the current overview of all the changes between data package version 1 and data package version 2. So I think that will give you an answer to what are there. But I mean, this is how anyone could use data package version 2 to express data sets. But the real benefit is only going to come if software also implements these features. I mean, to me, the reason why I started using data package is twofold. One, I wanted a way to describe my data that is not my way, but a more community adopted way. And two, I wanted an easy way to validate data. And that is what the Python package does very well. Just giving validation errors if there's any row in a million row data set that is not following the specifications that you write, that it can automatically detect those. I am not using data package version 2 yet because the Python package currently doesn't support that type of validation for data package version 2. That is the blocker we want to resolve. And yeah, the other more generic comment I wanted to make is this is stuff as a community maintaining a generic standard. It is very, very useful for many communities, but most of the work is happening within more dedicated communities rather than a more generic frictionless data community. And I think, yeah, we've noticed that in the size of this community and trying to maintain a standard that is a building block for many other things. It is hard to get recognition for that work or to find funding for that work, even though it could underpin a lot of other things, which is why I think as a community, we have to make conscious decisions in what we want to implement and support. For example, data package as a generic standard to describe a data set. There's many other ways to describe a data set that are already more popular, as in data site is a mechanism for exchanging data set level metadata. A lot of the things happening there are also defined in data package. I think the thing where we have a niche that is unique to us is describing tabular data. And I understand Keith's suggestion, like we should expand to also describe other types of data, but it is then also stretching us more thin in trying to support all those things at a basic general level, while we already are stretched quite thin in maintaining the standard and trying to maintain the software that is supporting the standard as well. So I think that is why, yeah, more contributions or interests or everybody participating in this call is very useful.
Yeah, thank you. And one other thing, do you foresee any challenges for the community when transitioning from the version 1 to version 2? How easy it is to just transition from V1 to V2?
No, as I said before, I think the main challenge now is getting the Python R package software up to date, which will happen this year. And then I think the next challenge will be how and when do we release data package 2.1 with new suggestions, and how slow should we do that? Because we also don't want to change the standards too fast, because then it's just software developers will have to chase after each new version every time. So I think with the change from version 1 to version 2, there was a big flurry of activity. Now it's been a bit more dormant, I think, until we wait until the software development is there. And then we'll have to see what features that were suggested as improvements to the standards are things that we can adopt. So yeah, I would say those are the main challenges. And backwards compatibility for data sets that are out there, I think that challenge is has been addressed in creating data package version 2. I mean, there's lots of backwards compatibility notes in there to make sure that if you have a data set that you published 10 years ago in data package version 1, that it's still readable now. I mean, that's the whole goal of the standard, right?
Yeah, cool. Good to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vimal. So Kathleen, if you have any suggestions or comments, you can do that. Kathleen, are you there?
Hi, yes, sorry,
Okay.
we were asking like how my organization might engage. So I think right now, just sort of learning and absorbing, but as our team moves toward supporting on sort of national and regional levels for bringing together climate data sets alongside health data sets, we are looking to understand and explore, sort of the existing data standards or software opportunities to reduce the friction to harmonizing the data set. So right now, kind of listening and learning with a goal toward figuring out kind of high potential for sustainability solutions that will make these data sets actionable for community users.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can just, yeah, Peter.
Yeah, so Caitlin, one of the interesting things I find with data package is in practice, you're only adding one extra file to your data. So it's not blocking any other approaches to accessing your data. So that is why I've never had a problem in adding this data package or using data package to describe the data, even if all the software fails and there's no support for this. It is still a JSON file that a human can read and understand and gives you a bit more knowledge on how the data is structured. So that is, I think, a key feature of data package. But there might be for climate data more, within the climate community already adopted standards that are different than data package. But that is one of the features I like. It's just a way to describe your data, and even if 10 years from now there's no software supporting this whatsoever, you're still able to figure out what was meant by the creator of the data.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for the nice discussion. So, Lucas, if you're there, you can just take the call on data package video record productions.
Hello, yes, I'm here. It says Open Knowledge Foundation in my profile, but it's Lucas Preti here, and Communications, Institutional Relations, and Advocacy Director, for the ones who don't know me. Now, just a quick update, because in the last community call, we discussed about producing a video, right, about the data package and frictionless data in the same aesthetics and mood of the video we produced for Open Data Editor. I don't have the link here, but I can paste it to you in a minute for the ones who haven't watched it. It's just an update. We are working on the script. There's the same guy that's the same the video is because Christmas, holidays, and so on. That's why we didn't move a lot in that project, but now we resumed it. So probably in the next community call, we'll be sharing the script so everyone can see and review. But also, if there's anyone who wants to be involved in this phase of the production, like to review the script now or give whatever ideas you wanna give, it's open. You can just reach out to Renu, and then we can coordinate a connection to me and also the video editor producer. But yes, just wanted to give you an update about that. So actually, not much to say, but just so you know what's happening. And the second thing I was wondering, is there anyone here who is going to FOSDEM or the EU Open Source Week next week. Because Renata will be around, I'll be following some of the sessions online, and I just want to know if you have like anything that is like not to miss or something.